in Portland primarily, and then Oregon, just to clarify, because I know we're all over the place. And then LA, New York, and DC. And now I'm back in Portland and doing promotion for the worldwide digital premiere with this awesome company called Veeps, which does primarily music, like concert distribution, like live concert distribution. But they took me on because they love the music, and I made vinyl and all these other, sort of dumbbells and whistles things that they really responded to. So, I mean, it's crazy. The horror community is so good at getting behind each other's products, but this falls into sort of a slightly different category for me. So I'm delighted to be talking about it with the caution of it is definitely not a horror film unless you're equally as afraid as me of losing your dreams entirely and not being able to do them, I guess is the way to put it. But yeah, so, get to hop back on and see all my friends again and talk about my movie. That's where I'm at. It's so much, and it's kind of fun.
Yeah, when we were looking for the choice of movies, the movie was going to be La Bamba, but then I changed it, mainly because it's a little bit longer, and it probably would have cut our interview a little shorter, but it would have mixed in a little bit more with what we were doing, with what, your movie, just a little bit. I mean, just a little bit. Remember, me and my wife, we watched a little bit of it the other day, and then we wound it the whole back and then watched it all the way through.
Great film.
Yeah, it is definitely. And what, as far as Nora, your character, how does she? And I noticed she kind of mixes in. She made her mark.
Yep.
Then she comes home.
Yep.
She kind of find it hard to kind of mix back in with society a little bit. So what is what inspiration you get from that exactly?
Well, I think for all of us weirdos, right? And, I'm just going to happily put ourselves all in that category. Home, the act of growing up in suburbia is, it's a special place. Like, I had a place there, but I never felt completely at home or comfortable with the sort of standards that were set by somebody else's expectations. I had these monster dreams, and I had these, I had an overactive imagination, and I had a deep desire to be an artist for the rest of my career. And so I left as soon as I kind of could. And so the film, mirrors my experience, but with a lot of, extremes pulled in for narrative storytelling, obviously. And I'm not a singer-songwriter. I'm a filmmaker and an actor, but I really love music. I love the emotional bomb that you can get from exactly the right song at the exact right moment. And I grew up doing a lot of musical theater, but I lost interest in the way the genre sort of, dropped a song in the middle of reality. That didn't make any sense to me. But I'm a kid of the MTV generation. So the idea of a song appearing in one's head because it's the emotional thing that you need, and then turning into the visuals of a epic music video. And I mean, we shot with drones. We some of them are animated. It's a crazy. We go 6 different complete directions, but all pulling from those same sort of, I think, pop culture references that we all recognize as music video trope. So the idea of music video, I kind of can't believe that I'm the first person who came up with it. It seems really obvious, because we know that people love music, and we know that people love movies, and we've put them together in so many different ways. And I just can't believe that I'm kind of the first one to do it in precisely this way. And it helps that she's obviously a singer-songwriter, so it makes sense that that's the way that the art form comes out. It's almost like a metaphor. If she let herself go all the way down the path of this impulse, what would actually come out at the end of it? And to my mind, she sort of writes the entire album over the course of the film. But it's because of those tiny moments, right? The sort of micro female aggressions and the feeling of being lonely and all of these little things that only come from a massive life transition and change. And every single one of those moments deserves its own sort of precious emotional beat, if you will. And that's what I wanted to explore, was really, in 90 seconds within the film. And there's a full music video, and we're going to release all of the full-fledged ones over the course of the next couple of weeks, because the premiere is May 24th. Anybody wants to come, and by come I mean watch it in your living room, because it's fully streaming.
Where I don't mean to interrupt you. Where is it going to stream it? Where's it
It's
going to
called
stream at?
it's called Veeps.com. That's Veeps.com. And it's a amazing site, and they're super artist forward. So they have this really incredible curated section. So if you go to veeps.com slash events.nora, or if you go, the easiest way to find it is nora.veeps.com. That's the most straightforward way, but then you have to double click on it. And it shows this picture of me screaming as I throw pigs in a blanket at my girlfriends, because that's the kind of crazy bitch I am. Sorry, we're allowed to swear, right? I'm just kidding. Of course we're
Absolutely. Yes, yes.
not. That's
Absolutely.
as you know, that is my raison d'etre.
Right.
So yeah, so it's been really cool to take those moments that I think that all of us have felt at some point, feeling isolated or feeling left out of the group, and kind of go crazy with them.
Yeah. Definitely. I mean, I'm digging the new streaming services. For me, it's like
Yeah.
I'm glad that this is Veeps. I've heard of it, but at the same time, it's like I haven't really been on it. But I've been kind of close with Shudder. Shudder has a lot of the really good horror stuff. They didn't have
Yeah.
much. They're starting to come up, and people forget, like back in the day, a lot of these channels like Fox and FX, when they first started, they didn't have anything. And so it's good that these new streaming services are coming, because ones like Netflix, and once you get into it, they take away the movies you like. They take away things that you really, I just want to all these streaming services are just like, they're not new anymore. So I want some new stuff.
100%. And I'm going to double down on that if I can, from the like film distribution standpoint. What Netflix has done to the distribution channels for the independent films, and that's all the good shit that we like the most, right? All of the like dirtiest horror, all of the, most original independent films, is it started paying less and less and less and less and less. So those of us who are artists, and bless them, they made a business model and they broke the entire industry. So I'm not knocking that they're really good at doing business, but it doesn't serve us as artists to think that that's the only place that we should be watching content. So the cool thing about Veeps is that it's a one-off ticket. You don't have to get a subscription. There's no ongoing promise to it. It's $14.99. And when you buy the film, it has additional content to make it exclusive to the Veeps platform. We're going to have interviews with the cast and crew. And then on opening night, May 24th, right after the film plays, when we're going to play 5 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific time, so we can, hit everybody. As when the film is done, we're going to show the little mini interviews, and then I'm going to do a live Q&A with myself and Nick Fink from the movie, and Noah Harmon, who wrote the music. And he plays with, Poison the Well, and he was in Airborne Toxic Event. Like, he's just a monster in the music world, and is, toured with everybody, worked with everybody. So I'm really honored that I get to highlight those other artists as well as we do it. But to your point, like, yeah, we're exhausted. There we are. We're exhausted by the idea that there's only one place that you're supposed to go. The number of times it's like, when will it be free on Netflix? I'm like, hopefully never, right? Hopefully we actually drive a new community to go to these badass, awesome new platforms. And by the way, we're only the second narrative film on this site. Like, they do entirely concerts, and they've done music documentaries and have just started. So we're really fortunate to be working with these guys, and just thrilled and honored that we have this monster platform behind us.
Yeah, I see this. Basically, you get $14.99 for a ticket.
Yep.
And then you get everything. You're not locked in for
Nope.
a bullshit subscription. Yeah, I like that. I know, because sometimes you get so many and you lose track. And I mean, sometimes, I don't even know which ones. And I was like, God, I don't know why are they taking $13 out of my bank account? So, I mean, yeah, this is
It's a
something.
good deal. It's a good deal. And there are subscription versions of it too, but come and test it out on this. And then if you like what you see and you realize there's artists on there that have concerts that are streaming that you like check it out. Anyway, I'm really a huge fan of the platform, and working with these dudes in particular has been super awesome. They're so incredibly good at what they do. They love the artists, and they really want to highlight the work itself. And I'm just so clear that they took on my project because they genuinely liked it, and that feels so good. Not because they thought they could make a buck, but they were like, this is content worth delivering, So very exciting.
What's Nora's inspiration? I mean, as far as I've heard some of the music that you shared with me, but what is the inspiration for like her music exactly, like
For
who
the
to,
music itself, yeah,
yeah.
I would say we got some Brandy Carlisle in there. We got, oh, what's their name? They're up here. I love a good harmony, so there's a lot of female singers with good harmony in there. But I come from the days of Fiona Apple and, the angry rocker chicks too. So I think you're gonna hear a lot of passion, a lot of angst in my voice, as we do it. And I get to sing. I get to cut an entire actual album too, which is just ridiculous, which is on Spotify and all those things. And the easiest way, weirdly, to search it is my name because there's too many other Noras out there. But for some reason, I'm the only singer who's Anna Campbell. And, the fact that this is my first thing and it's that easy to search with such a classic name just cracks my shit up. So we're on Apple, iTunes, we're on Spotify, we're on Amazon, all of those places. So yeah, stream the music, see if you like it. I think that, there's a couple of really good angry rockers in there. Am I Alive and Scream are both sort of like I hate everything and I'm gonna burn it down songs. And I just love them so much because every once in a while that's the mood that you're in, right? So
Right, exactly.
yeah.
um what is so as far as like, were there any like in particular, like, I know like the music, but what about, were there like any songwriter stories, like, because we were just talking about,
Oh,
we were just talking about La Bamba. I mean, I was surprised, even though I'd seen the movie and I'd seen the documentaries, and you
yeah.
find out, because we watched a documentary like right after the movie, and he was not famous for even a year, and
Yeah.
and all of a sudden, that's it. So what was your, like, were there any like in particular stories that you
No outside
watched?
artists. I think this one is more like a metaphor for my own experience as an actor and artist, because for me, it was taking my experience of not wanting to give up on my dream of, initially I was an actor for 20 years without thinking for 1 second that I should be in charge of telling the stories. And so when I realized that I had not just the chops, but the deep desire to actually be the one in charge, the idea that that was going to all go away. It was the pandemic, right? So I left LA during the pandemic when everybody was fleeing because we didn't know where we were supposed to be. And my industry in particular had shut down so completely. And the very thought of moving back home to suburbia, being away from all of my artist friends. And so I wanted to write something. I don't think that there's anything less interesting than a movie about making movies. There's some really good ones out there, but I think that self-referential is something that it's harder for people to get into. And so straight telling my actual story instead of telling it in metaphor and telling the story of any artist who's felt like they, especially as a parent, right? Because I love being a mom. I love my kids. It was always something that I wanted to have be part of my life. And so I wasn't going to give up that part of my dream because I wanted, because I had these other thoughts in there too. And so exploring that sort of balance in motherhood, between like motherhood and selfhood, really interested me. And that's probably the major theme of it is there a way to actually have it all? Can we have an amazing family life? Can we have the perfect relationship, right? Can we find the person of our dreams? And can we have the kids? And can we have the dogs? And can we, have the career that we always wanted to have and be connected to the passion that, we feel. And so no, this is not a specific story of one person, but I think that what I've been told is I always thought, oh, it's a story about moms and, the struggles that we go through and all of the inequities and female, but I've had so many dads and dudes and artists and people with no kids tell me this is just a movie about not giving up on your dreams. This is a movie about never quitting on yourself, no matter what the circumstances.
Who who plays your daughter in this?
My own daughter. How dope is that? So my daughter, Sophie Bodden, plays, and to be honest, like I started writing the script because she would say these like ridiculously precocious, adorable things. And so I would start writing down these conversations that we were having because little kids are fucking observant. Excuse my language, but it is astonishing to sort of watch the world start all over again through your own child's eyes. Like it's one of the kind of biggest gifts of parenting that you're like, oh, I thought I had it all under control and I know nothing. And so she would observe me in these states of sort of, getting myself worked up, and she would be so much more right about what was happening than I was. So I started writing it down, and then I asked her if she wanted to be in mommy's movie, and she was like, oh God, no. And I was like, what? She was, 6 at the time. And I was like, okay, but no problem. I'm never going to be the stage mom. I'm not going to be the one who's going to force you to do something you don't want to do. That is not my style. no obligation. And a couple of days later, I asked her why she didn't want to do it. And she said, well, I don't want all those people looking at me. And I realized she'd conflated like theater acting and film acting. And so I explained to her that there'd only be, a dozen people on set and they'd actually be over there. And it would really be just mommy. And she's like, oh, yeah, I'll totally do that. So she signed herself up for her first starring role at 6. Can you imagine like being handed, like for me, it was like handing my younger self my own dream. And now she's like, yeah, I'm totally an actress. I'm a movie star. I'm like, wow, I had to work so hard to get to that point. Like my parents are wonderful people, but it never occurred to them to give up their entire lives and move everything so that I could be an actor when I first declared I wanted to be one. And God bless them for not doing it. But it's pretty cool to be able to hand your kid your own dream, and if she can keep doing it if she wants, she can stop if she wants, and I will be there to support her all along the way.
I definitely want to now as far as like I wanted to ask you, as far as like like they're that underbelly of Hollywood that we all hear about, and only the real nuts kind of seem to get on TV and kind of have a tendency to just talk too much. I mean, then they end up like, because people forget, they try to like separate the person from the characters that they see them like play. But you kind of see a lot of these people that have a tendency to just keep running their mouths, and they keep having, and there's this underbelly of like actors and actresses that love to, do all that. Like, and then when you ask them, like, what's your inspiration? They always name each other. And it's really weird to me. It's like, is anybody else your inspiration? It's like, oh no, she was. I'm like, okay. I mean, so I get the feeling you're not part of that, like,
Oh no.
all that weird clique. Do you have an inspiration?
Yeah,
What
I
is your
mean, look, I love reading. I love music. I love art in all its forms, but I also just really like observing people. And it's actually one of the reasons I think that I didn't get to direct my own film until I left Hollywood. I really enjoyed my time there. I was a working actor. I made my health insurance. I had little side jobs, but I made the bulk of my money actually like being a professional actor. It was cool. But what's true also is that Hollywood rewards massive egos. They confuse confidence with well, I think confidence and self-obsession can be very near each other on the on the line, right on the spectrum there. And what often happens is that especially if you give someone just a little bit of that you're the best juice, it can turn into a Kool-Aid, and it can turn into, and I think it was Rosie O'Donnell who called it, it can be a real addiction, fame itself. And so I think that they're reluctant to give it up and like hearing the sound of their own voices instead of actually giving back to the art form that brought them there in the first place. So I think that a lot of the people who work heavily in Hollywood confuse the cult of personality with the art form, right? And bless them. Like, good job on you. They are much wealthier than I am. They have figured out how to work the system in a way that I'd rather do from a perspective of community building and of being, good to the people around me instead of, grabbing my own little piece of the pie. Um, but I, but for me, look, if you ask me what my favorite movies were as a kid, they were the ones that made me feel the most. And as dumb as it sounds, I loved Newsies, and I loved The Usual Suspects, and I loved the most random assortment of sort of whatever Hallmark Hall of Fame movie came on that week, and the Sleeping Beauty ballet that my mom taped that we played until the tape wore out on VHS. And I did start out, my mom was afraid of the lyrics and music, so we would listen to a lot of musical theater. And when I started stretching that, I found these really lyrical musicians that added to this sort of, I was a big feeling kid, and I needed outlets for those big feels. And so yeah, the first concert I ever went to, please forgive me, was Sarah McLachlan and the Indigo Girls. And I can't remember who opened for who, because at that moment I cannot remember who was the like bigger act. Like, that was the moment. And for me, it was like these incredible women standing up on the stage and presenting themselves in all of their vulnerability and rawness and glory. And I feel like that that, if anything. Like whenever, whatever the thing is that attracts me, it's always that. It's always the willingness to say, I'm really feeling a thing. Is anybody else out there like on board with me here? Or am I completely alone? And the fact of the matter is, most people are hiding those feelings and thinking that it's inappropriate for them to have them. We're all sort of on some version of the struggle bus. Everybody feels big things all day long. And the question is just, do you have a safe outlet for it? And that's why I ended up in the arts, because my feelings are big.
Yeah, I think I remember when after I started plugging into the music scene a little bit, and I interviewed a few guys. I did see them, Indigo Girls. They're on the road, I think, right now
Yeah, they keep
with
touring.
with
Yeah,
Melissa Etheridge, I think is who it was. So they're doing pretty good.
they're
Um,
delightful.
I've never, I mean, I've no, they're not on my repeat list as far as music goes, but I mean, it's okay. But I mean, it's a lot, and I did mention this a couple of weeks ago, and a lot of people were saying, what do you think? That I got asked, when was the last time a soundtrack in a movie was good? And I said,
Mm,
we haven't had one. I mean, I don't really recall one that isn't background music, not just one song,
yeah,
because that's what a lot of them have been.
yeah.
Um, I don't recall one that they've had like a ton of music that, now they all don't have to be good, but I mean, at least like 4 or 5 of them have to be kind of decent. So as
Totally.
far as like soundtracks go, when was the last time like you remember like a decent one
Well, I think,
came?
there's obviously a matter of taste in their period, right? Like there would be people who would argue, but the Wicked soundtrack was one of the highest played and probably highest grossing soundtracks in the world. I liked Wicked just fine, but it's not going to be everybody's thing. And I think that's always the trick, is which one actually appealed to you. But look, I'm a kid of the 90s. We listened to the Romeo and Juliet soundtrack on repeat. We listened to what was the other one that Baz Luhrmann put out? There were the Reality Bites soundtrack. Do you remember that one? Where they were pulling from true pop music the stuff that we needed to be hearing, right? They were the soundtrack of our youth. And it's rarer now that those true collaborations, instead of making something just for the film, I don't know whether it's because they got expensive or what it is, but very rarely anymore are people pulling from existing music. More often than not, they're finding, things that are either, well, that's not true. That's not entirely fair. There's plenty of people pulling from existing music, but there hasn't been a soundtrack that's the standalone part of the film for a really long time. I think that's true. I'm trying to think if I can think of any recent, experiences. You could sort of argue that, La La Land had a couple of bangers, and the most recent Star is Born, right? That Bradley Cooper and Lady Gaga did together. Uh, but then you look at the Joker 2 disasters of the world, and are like, they tried to use music. They tried to figure out a way to tell the story and incorporate it, but it fell so flat. So I believe that we're in sort of a really big renaissance right now. I think we're watching the existing version of Hollywood in our current studio system collapse so that we can rebirth, right? Like a version like the 70s. It's going to be raw. It's going to be dirty. It's going to be the indie filmmakers. We saw that at the Oscars even this year, as dumb as it sounds, that the indie filmmakers are the ones winning the highest awards in the industry. But we're exhausted by the same damn movie coming out over and over again with the same soundtrack and the same 6 artists putting their already famous, spin on the exact same song. We're looking for a mini revolution. And I think, well, we're doing that politically. We're doing that in, the global upheaval. I think that everywhere we're looking, we're seeing an indication that society needs to find a way to come together. And entertainment's always going to be the first place that you're going to see, how that's going to get big. And I just hope I get to be a part of it. I think that's really what it comes down to for me.
Yeah, it's like I think I talked to Stan Bush is a good friend of mine, and I interviewed him twice, and
Yeah.
he always had good music. He always had that like really cool 80s music, and basically
Yeah.
almost every cool 80s movie he had it, and he had like 2 or 3 songs on the soundtrack.
Yeah.
And then you have like you sort of have the Top Guns of the
Yeah.
soundtracks. You
Yeah.
have all these other ones, but I don't know. It's just music. Music to me, it's like I don't remember the last time I bought an actual song off of iTunes that isn't old.
Yeah. Well, and that's part of my question. So do you do any streaming on the music too? Because the way we consume music itself has also changed. I used to buy the CD and you'd play it front to back. And maybe you'd skip a song after you'd listened to it a dozen times or something like that. But 98% of the time it's across the room, and until we got the remotes, and then we could, like, I think that look, as an aging artist, right? And I feel fine about that. Don't worry. There's no angst there. We're going to be missing some of the trends. There's going to be a new way that people are doing it that I'm just not going to bother being aware of. But I do think that the idea of the meeting of music and film is due for the revolution. I don't know. Maybe we came up with a new way to start trying it, at least, So um yeah, I think working with artists, and I didn't write any of the music. I am not a songwriter, so my friend Noah Harmon wrote all of the music for my film, and maybe there'll be more versions of that, right, where we're sitting down and actually doing that together instead of keeping the two mediums so separated. I don't know.
If you could compare your character to like anyone, I know we kind of already answered this a little bit, but like all the singers that I know of, they all have their stories about drugs, or alcohol, and they've had all these stories about they've managed to beat it, and they've managed to come out the other side. But when I see that, I could get it wrong, but from what I saw in the preview, it's more of like her psychological damage.
Correct.
Which is kind of a bit refreshing and brand new. It just is, because I it's like when I watch a movie and every fucking guy in the movie is named John or Jack, Bill, Bobby, and it's like, can we come up with? And it's like when I started writing my book, I said, you know what? All these characters are going to have names that you really rarely ever hear.
Yes.
And it makes it interesting. So I thought, so did I get the psychological part?
100%, dude. Yeah, no, that's exactly it. I meant for this to be a little bit of a broader experience, right? As a woman in society, there is so much self-doubt that's fed to us. And if anything, what I really want to combat is the idea that we're not enough just as we are, right? And so instead of doing the traditional story of, who's sleeping with who, and who's, got the drug problem, and who's going to fall apart, and who's going to die, and who's going to, right? The drama is truly internal and comes out in this super cathartic way of, so the theater geek secret behind the film and the title is that Nora is the title character of an Ibsen play, Henrik Ibsen. God bless me for taking that deep cut of reference. And the play is called Dollhouse. And without spoiling it for anybody, sorry guys, right? The play premiered in 1890 something. And at the end of the play, Nora, who's been working really, really hard to try to save her family while her husband's been sick, and she's made some poor choices, but she's being reamed for it by someone who is disrespectful of her, basically. She's like, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. I gotta go. And she picks up and walks out. And they called it the door slam heard around the world because audiences rioted, like literally tore apart the theater, screaming in the streets, like, how dare she leave the family behind? And that story was told to me in college as I was studying theater. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, the idea that it's not okay for a woman to leave a bad situation. And by no means is this situation just as bad, but I really I hate the idea that it's cool if dad goes on the road and, manages the band, which is what happens in the course of this film. But for some reason, God forbid, mom would decide to actually follow her own selfhood and her own dreams, right? Like, the idea that we can't rely on awesome dads to have the same, love and support for the internal family system as we can for women pisses me off. And we talk a lot about parity right now, and right, the agreement upon the shared responsibilities, and making sure that we're actually having the conversation about the way a relationship chooses to go, and that instead of assigning traditional gender roles, that we get to redefine it for ourselves, because guess what? Women are in the workforce now. And so someone's going to have to do a little bit more than mow the lawn on the weekends for, us to be able to make it through this utter nonsense life. Right. So that was one of the reasons that I wanted to look at it this way too, was, let's find a better balance, and let's make sure that we're taking care of everybody in the family unit, not just, half of them.
Yeah, I mean, and I've talked to my wife about that a whole bunch,
Mm.
and it's something in movies, it's the way movies are kind of swinging now. I don't like movie. I used to think, it was nice, where the guy and the husband and the wife, that go to a party. Let's just say go to a party. They go to a party, and the wife would literally be the biggest, basically the biggest bitch in the world. She'd
Mm.
hand him her purse and say, "You stand here, don't move or don't do whatever." And the guy is dried up. He is literally like, any minute now he's going to snap. And it's like, I used to, and then everybody's kind of laughing at it. And I'm like, I'm not really laughing so much. I mean, I'm not a stick in the mud. I'll laugh at things. And it's that, and it's the father is always the abuser. He's always the problem. And, nothing is different. And the ones that are different, they're not very memorable. So it's
Yes.
like, and I kind of feel that the ones that are like, I remember Mommy, I think it was what Mommy Dearest was one, which
Mm.
that was a very crazy performance.
Yeah.
But like, do you feel like,
Yeah.
it's
Oh yeah.
stale that way? It could be better, or do you
Oh
feel
god,
like it
100%, 100%. But look,
right?
we've been being fed the same sort of hero's journey since the dawn of time, right? We've been fed the same idea that the way are the hero in your own story is to conquer the demon and come out the other side on top of it. And for women, that's always meant being really good at taking care of the house. And for men, that's always meant, being the exclusive provider. And we cannot help but be inundated with these repeated images that tell us, if you're not doing it the way society tells you you're supposed to have been doing it, you're doing it wrong. And I am here to yell to the rooftops that we get to define our own rules. Right, that we get to work as a team, as a slightly larger community. We get to find our people in a very different way. One of my favorite music videos in Nora, was one of the first set of images that came to me, and I was terrified to do the music videos. They seemed so monstrous and so scary to me. But the first image that came to me was this 1950s housewife smashing the kitchen that was keeping her stuck, right? Smashing the groceries that she had to pick up. And so we got to work with this really cool technology to do it all in this like intense slow motion. The idea of, everything looks perfect from the outside, but then the camera shifts a little bit to the side and you see the ugly shadows, and then she's just got a break. And so every single one of the music videos, and this was me responding specifically to exactly that point, Charles, like that what we're actually doing is taking the traditional images of gender-based roles, and not saying you can't do them, but saying, can we just question these a little bit? Can we rip them apart? One of the other one that, so those are sort of bookends. The very first music video in it looks like a romance novel, right? This gorgeous red dress and a man in a tuxedo, and they're walking down this epic red carpeted path through the woods. But then and then he sort of breaks off and goes up ahead, and she looks to the side and realizes there's another path over there. And so instead of chasing the man, which would be the traditional story, she literally chases her own path and breaks off from the prescribed, expected way to go, and finds her own way through the magical woods, right? That's not the way the story is usually told to us. The story is, you're complete when you've got a man, at least as a woman, right? And you're complete when you get the girl to fall in love with you. And what utter nonsense. There's so many other ways to feel complete. And of course, it's wonderful if you can find a partnership with which to do it. But I mean, F that noise. Like, can we be done with it and choose for ourselves the way we'd like to live our lives? Look, we live in the supposedly freest nation in the world, right? Like, stop telling us how to be, really. to keep it basic.
Exactly. Right. No, absolutely right. Um, as let me see. I got to get this background off. I had turned that other background off because it was making me dizzy. Um, but I couldn't see it because the movie was in the back of it.
No worries.
Um, as far as like, your future project, I mean, I know we wanted to talk about Nora, and definitely I'm going to buy me a ticket for this because I mean, I definitely,
Oh,
me and my
you're
wife,
so
it's
sweet.
just it's something. Well, I mean, it's something to watch. I mean, I definitely it's different.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure. I mean, I don't want to ruin it, but it's all the most a lot of the rock star movies, and stuff like that are the same. But most of them they're sniffing a couple of suitcases of coke, they're drinking,
Yeah.
which is okay, but I mean it's like, okay, well, if you've seen one, you've seen them all, and
Yeah.
it's like this looks like a bit different. So I'm definitely going, I'm on board with that.
Oh, you're so sweet.
But there's something, I saw something about are you filming The Policeman yet?
The Policeman is already, in the can. I have a tiny little part in that. My youngest gets to play a part in that too. So we're not sure when that one's coming out, but, yeah, that one's gonna be a dark and twisty one for sure. So I don't know
The
how much
Golden
I'm
State
allowed to
Killer,
say about
right?
it. Yeah, exactly, exactly. It's,
That's
what a twisty script. You know? Auditioning for some of the parts in that movie where it was a truly terrifying experience, and mine is a little bit, less scary, but, I'm curious to see the way that one all comes together because it's an amazing cast and it was a wonderful set to be on. But yeah, dark story.
as far as like, the movies you choose,
Mm.
like, um who brings those to you? Like, do you find them, or does your agent do you have an agent and they drop them off,
I have an
or
agent. Sometimes it's an offer and sometimes it's an audition still. Mostly I'm still auditioning, if I'm to be honest. It's one of the reasons I moved towards directing because I was like, I could be auditioning for the rest of my life and never guarantee my own salary, right? That's a scary place to be in, to not have a steady and reliable income. I mean, I have day jobs. I teach acting, I coach actors, but if I could consistently be directing, that would be a more well, and it's a fulfilling in a very different way to actually choose the story that's being told. But yeah, primarily I still get to audition for things and I'm asked to work in things, especially with people I've worked with before, right? It's how I ended up in Never Hike and Jason Rising, both that those two communities are so beautifully overlapping. So
are there just like anything in particular you look for, or it's like, it's just what it is, like, a
it's a
lot
little
of
bit of both. I mean, you want to be involved in something that's, as big as possible and has a chance of seeing the light of day. I think that's the truth of it is a lot of the work that we do, especially on smaller indies, that it's question and it's why it's so interesting for me to be on the back end side of a truly independent film. I'm really lucky how much distribution I've already gotten for this thing, that I got it into theaters, that it was booked legitimately into theaters and we weren't just buying out theaters or something like that. And the fact that Veeps wanted me, this is huge at this point because it's hard to get an independent film all the way into, people's hands at this point. So you love being in something that is gonna have enough name talent attached to it that you're gonna make it, into somebody's hands. But I love working on a little project where we truly get to play. It's why I signed up for Jason Rising in the first place, because I met James and I was like, "Oh, hey, what's up? Yeah, I don't care where this thing goes. I'm interested in your passion for telling this story." So I think that's probably my first. If someone just seems bored by the prospect or is frustrated already at the very beginning of it, that's not exciting for me. But if someone is like, I care so deeply about something that I'll spend the next 2 years of my life making sure it's as good as humanly possible, I'm in. I will be your girl. I love helping somebody else's story come true almost as much as I love telling my own. I think it's a really amazing, amazing thing to get to do.
basically it's just like something that kind of like, if it's kind of the way the wind blows, if it
Oh yeah.
if it feels good, then you'll take it. Yeah, it's
Oh
like a
yeah.
lot of people, like they'll do one thing and then they'll just keep doing the same thing for years, and then all of a
Yeah.
sudden it's like they try something a little different. Like comedic actors want to be dramatic or some crap. And but it
Yeah.
but the one thing about today that I have noticed, you did mention something about, your auditioning, is that all these people, like nowadays, we don't have like a really big actor,
Yes.
like we don't have those like anymore. We just have like just the veteran actors are now coming, and they're like still carrying, things. It's like, when Hugh Jackman came back last year,
We're good.
and yeah, Hugh
Yeah.
Jackman came back last year. A lot of people came back to roles that they said they'd never do.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's like, is it just something like the younger people have a tendency to
No,
they're not connecting with people like the
it's a
older
shift in
generation
it's
is.
a shift in the industry, I think, more than anything. So the concept of a movie star, the idea is that their name alone has enough value to open the movie in movie theaters, right? Or to bring an audience, to draw people to them. And because the theatrical experience has sort of tamped down, right? Like after the pandemic, we did not go back to the movie theaters in the same numbers that we did. We sort of tried with Marvel, but that's dying off because those stories are all exactly the same every single time.
Mhm.
Bless them for trying. But it's actually, if you look at it from a historical standpoint, it looks exactly like what happened when the studio system collapsed at the end of the 50s and into the early 60s, when the studios just kept churning out these massive musicals. Hilariously, as I go back to a version of the genre, they were like, yeah, you still want this, right? You still want this, you still want this. And it was, we were in economic turmoil and we were bored by the thing. And the Cary Grants and the Gene Kellys and all of these amazing people stopped mattering for the ticket sales themselves. And during that time, we saw the rise of the auteur directors. The John Cassavetes paved the way for Scorsese and for Lucas to go and make the most nonsense thing anyone ever heard of, and this weird Star Wars shit. And Spielberg then came in and was like, let me tell stories that have just like real heart that I connect with. And these were kids that grew up having to make the movies on their own. And so I think what we're entering is a phase, because look at how well Sinners did. I saw that movie just yesterday. I'm so thrilled I saw it in the theater. Highly recommend. And it's not going to be a movie for everybody, but that movie found its audience. And Ryan Coogler has done a badass job of being like, I make movies that connect with the Black experience. And I watched that movie and I was like, I am in awe, feeling like I understand somebody else's perspective while I'm being entertained with pomp and circumstance and fucking vampires everywhere. Like, what an amazing thing. So, and for me, like, I love Michael B. Jordan, but I don't think he opened that movie. I think it was Ryan Coogler's storytelling and his new way of doing it. Because it's so funny because the first thing I did was walk out and post something. I was like, this is how we do it, right? What we do is we say, fuck you for telling me there's a way that this is supposed to be done. I'm going to do it my way. And if it's good enough, people will find it. And that's precisely my attitude towards how to make things that audiences will actually connect with. Follow your heart, like follow your own passion. That's what people are going to connect it with, not with like, oh yeah, I've seen that one before. Doesn't Spider-Man always end up with Mary Jane? Isn't that, don't we just know that that's going to happen? Like, there's no mystery in that. And the human condition is always looking for a new way of expressing what their actual internal experience is. So to your point about, right, like in my film, she's not just like doing a bunch of coke and all those things. That's not what most people have been through, but most people have been through, holy shit, my mom, my parents are aging. I've got to, be taking care of them. I've got these kids now. I can't spend as much time doing my own hobbies. Like, where is the person who's going, let's really talk about this in a strange and new way? And I do feel like the movie star itself is a little bit of a dead entity right now. There will be people who come up with these amazing new set of directors that will turn into the next generation of people who will also draw you in. But that will be because they will have picked the right projects or ended up accidentally in the right person's hands early in their career. And that's the train I want to get on. I want to get behind the storytellers who are going, yeah, fuck you, this is boring, let's do it a different way. Like, that's my interest right now.
Okay, definitely. Okay,
Yeah.
I definitely love that. That's a good perspective. It's definitely a good answer to that question. Okay. All right. So you got. Let's. Oh, sorry about that.
I know the backache.
Yes. So I'm gonna let you. You know, if you have anything you want to promote right now, go ahead and do it. I mean, I know
Nora's the big one, yeah, I
where's the one
mean
you're promoting?
right, well, yeah, we open May 24th,
May
Veeps.
24th.
May 24th on Veeps, and we'll be there all month, so it's not like you have to watch it right on that opening day. The content will be exclusive to Veeps and be it'll be the film and then specialized interviews for that experience. But I guess for me, it's just let's revolutionize this. I love what you're saying about we're exhausted by the previous platforms. We're exhausted by being told how we're supposed to consume things. The kids these days are not watching things on any of the ways that we watch them. Let's also, as people who love film and who love horror and who love making people have big, whether it's scares or feels, right, but they're all the same thing in my opinion. Let's go find the ways that we can get this information out in a new and special way. And so let's follow the platforms that are trying something new. Let's look at the Shutters, let's look at the Veeps. And there've been a couple that have shut down because they were too ahead of their time, but I genuinely believe we're going to go back to we're looking for the following for the new story, as opposed to we always go to HBO and know exactly what we need. I hope HBO comes back. I miss the heyday of them making the craziest content out there. But for right now, what we're looking at is let's all collectively look for something new. And let's start with Nora, shall we?
Absolutely.
Shameless plug.
No, nothing wrong with the shameless plug. May 24th on definitely Veeps. I mean, we've this is our second interview, I believe. We tried to do one before, but then something fell through. But
Man. Yeah.
yeah, it is. But I'm definitely, like I said, I mean, this is I think I got from what I saw in the preview, it looks different and pretty decent, pretty good. So I will be on board with that on May 24th, and I'm gonna go see if I can hook up with that, and everybody out there go do that. So I definitely want to thank you for coming. I know it's like one of those things, we did that. We were trying to figure this out like 2 or 3 months ago. So it's one of those things. And
this is really good timing for me. I'm really glad to be able to have something exciting to say about the projects that are going on. And I just adore talking to you. I love that we don't have to do it in all the traditional ways and, make it sound sales pitchy. It's really nice to just have a real chat. So I always appreciate you, sir.
Right. Well, definitely, Anna. And I definitely, I know after the film comes out, you're going to be quite busy, but I definitely like to bring you back. Bring it back again. So I definitely want to thank you for coming and anything we can do to promote some stuff, that's what I do.
You're amazing. Well, I'll get you an affiliate link. You can also spread it around all the things. We'd love to have you on board. So
yeah, affiliate link. Yeah, I definitely appreciate it, Anna.
Okay. Yeah, for sure. We'll chat.
Okay. Well, you get some rest and good luck, and just keep me notified, and don't overdo it too much. I know
possible. That's not my style.
I got you. Okay.
Cheers, sir. So lovely to see you.
Well, thank you too, Anna. You have a good one. Okay.
Bye, friend.
Bye. Yeah. She definitely makes it easy to interview because me and my the way when I do interviews, it's really tough because you got to drag the answer out of somebody. And I'm like, I hate doing that. But with her, it's kind of easy. So we had a pretty good show. But we were going to do La Bamba tonight, but La Bamba lasts about 2 hours. So Creepshow 2 was a good from that. And we had One Crazy Summer last week. And of course, you see at the bottom right there, we have South Park, Bigger, Longer, Uncut next week. Oh, God's going to be crazy. I'm going to be drinking quite a bit next week. So bring your alcohol, bring your friends, because we're going to have us a blast next week. And I want all of y'all definitely on board for that. Okay. So let me find it here. I got to do this. So I'm going to cut it off like right now, guys. I appreciate y'all, being here. We had great interviews, great story time. Like, share, subscribe, join the Patreon, get you a shirt from our store. I'll let you know how the Plymouth's coming. We got all this stuff happening, guys. So if you definitely want to have some fun, definitely notice it with us, because we are definitely on board with all the cool stuff. And remember, May 24th, Veeps. Nora. It looks like a pretty good movie, and I'm definitely gonna watch it myself. So you watch it too, okay? So y'all take it easy. You have a good night. Love you. See you next time.
Thank you for your cooperation. Good night.